Hi everyone, it's Rachel and Lauren here on the sofa for a chat, except we're actually pretending to be on the beach because why not, huh? So we're livening up our sofa chat with some beachy action. So thanks for joining me, Lauren.
Well, thank you for having me.
Lauren is a content strategist who I've known for a while, and she's really amazing at running workshops, taken part in some of her workshops and seen her speak. So if you haven't seen any of her talks or read any of her blog posts, I highly recommend it. She's a bit of a maven when it comes to helping you work out your brand tone and voice. Aren't you, Lauren?
Thank
So
you so much. I hope so.
one of the things I wanted to chat to you about today actually is you did some really amazing work recently. You had a very, very short space of time to put together a sort of hub, if you like, on COVID-19. And yeah, it was really impressive in the space of time that you did it in. So I just was wondering if you could share a bit about that with us.
It was a real roller coaster actually. This was just after lockdown started, and I'm self-employed and pretty much all my work had been cancelled, so I had nothing to do. And I sent out an email just saying, if anybody's got any work going, hi, hire me, I'm free. And I was so lucky that somebody got in touch from Community Works, which is a charity in Brighton, and they teamed up with another charity called the Trust for Developing Communities. And what they wanted to do was build a hub for Brighton and Hove that would kind of bring together all the different support that's on offer in the city, because the response here has been really amazing, as I'm sure it has been in a lot of places, but so many charities and voluntary organisations have really just gone above and beyond to support vulnerable people in the community. So things like Together Co, they're a charity that normally kind of does befriending and helps people who are lonely and isolated. They kind of completely pivoted their service and got all their volunteers out there delivering food to people who are isolated at home. So we wanted to kind of help people who are vulnerable connect to those kind of services, because there's tons of stuff out there, but it's quite hard to find if you're not already kind of in touch. So did some really quick user research with the Trust for Developing Communities community workers who are out there and kind of really embedded in lots of different parts of the city and know what's going on and what people need, and found some kind of really interesting stuff about what people who are really struggling through this actually kind of need and what they're kind of dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And the biggest problem that people are having is just getting hold of food.
Wow.
It's either that they can't leave the house to do their shopping, and maybe if they're kind of isolated, don't have friends and family living locally, they're just really not sure where they can go. Or for a lot of people, unfortunately, they can't afford food because they've lost their jobs, or something like that's going on, or maybe they were struggling to pay for it before in a lot of instances. Another really interesting one was that people are really lonely. Again, people who are kind of stuck at home on their own and can't go out and kind of do the things that they normally do, they're kind of missing those social interactions. So we kind of modelled the site around those different needs. And if you kind of look on it, it's called covidbrightonhove.org.uk. You can see that the kind of navigation and the structure is all kind of built around those different kind of categories of user needs. And then on those pages, we've got kind of collections of signposts to all the different organisations that are providing help in those different areas.
What I really liked about it is how warm and friendly the tone of voice was and how welcoming. So it's interesting that you said that, one of the biggest problems is people that, maybe don't have anyone else to talk to. And it can feel quite intimidating trying to find help for things. And it can feel quite, don't want to do it. No one likes asking for help. So I think you did actually a really, really great job of making it feel, quite friendly and warm, rather than just any kind of information site where it could be quite cold and functional. So I certainly sort of looked at it and thought, actually the tone of voice on there is really lovely.
Oh, thank you. That was something that we were trying quite hard to balance, actually, because we wanted to kind of take notes from best practice from GDS and things like that for the design of the site and for the way that it functions, to make sure that it was kind of really useful and really accessible. But we didn't want it to feel kind of governmental at all, because some of the kind of feedback that I heard as part of the user research was that some people really don't feel comfortable engaging with the government or council services because perhaps they've had quite negative experiences in the past, or they kind of worry about dealing with anything official. So we wanted to make it feel grassroots and kind of part of the community. And again, particularly because so many of those charities and volunteer organisations that we're signposting, they are grassroots organisations. They are really friendly and welcoming and open. So wanted to try and get that across.
Yeah, I think you did a really good job, actually. And how have you been how have you been finding balancing work and life in lockdown? Because you know, essentially your home becomes your permanent office. How have you found that?
Really hard. Really hard. I'm self-employed, but I don't work from home. I rent a desk in a small office with kind of a couple of other companies, and I really love going into work every day and kind of having like that walk to and from work, and like just like time to kind of switch between work mode and everything else. And it's also tough because like, I didn't even have like a desk at home. You go back through my Twitter feed, you can see all the like weird like makeshift desks that I tried to make out. Camping tables, Black & Decker workbenches.
Amazing. So I'm definitely going to look at those.
It's been quite a journey for the desk anyway. But I think I'm getting into the swing of it now, maybe. But I don't like it. And
you don't like it?
No, I really want to go back to the office.
Have you found it collaborating with UX designers and researchers? How have you found that remotely?
Well, yeah, the kind of collaboration thing's been quite interesting. So I do quite a lot of my work remotely anyway. So I'm quite used to doing things over calls and stuff like that. So that's been fine. I think one thing that I have found harder is I think when you work remotely, and particularly if you're using kind of like instant messaging tools like Slack in particular, I find that like really distracting, and I don't really enjoy that as a way of working, because I like to kind of be uninterrupted and kind of think about things quite deeply and like try and get into flow. And I find that the kind of expectation that perhaps I create for myself, I don't know if other people have it, that you're going to reply immediately on Slack, like really really stressful. So I haven't enjoyed that much. What I have really enjoyed is using Mural. So I've run some kind of like online workshops using that, and it's been really great to have that kind of virtual whiteboard space, and to be able to kind of still have post-it notes in some kind of format and kind of share ideas that way. Yeah, that's been a success, I think.
Did you work with any new people? Were you collaborating with people you hadn't even met before?
Yeah, so the team that I'm working with for COVID Brighton and Hove, I haven't actually met any of them in real life yet.
Wow, so just like meeting through post-its and Slack messages.
I only met through kind of calls and Trello for that project. So I'm looking forward to meeting them face to face when this is all over, and yeah, having a coffee or a pint or something to celebrate.
And it is kind of amazing that we can create such great experiences just remotely without ever having set foot in a room with these people. It's really impressive.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think and that collaboration was actually much easier than I thought it would be. I guess because everybody was so kind of focused on just wanting to get something done, it all just kind of fell into place quite naturally, and we solved problems as and when they came up, and yeah, it's been good so far.
That's good. And your I really like your newsletter that you send out, a 10 things newsletter, because you've always got some sort of great, really inspiring articles and stories on it. I just wondered, how do you find the time to source that content?
It is really time consuming, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't do it all on my own. So I have a process for this. So what I do is I get a lot of the kind of links and things from 10 things, either from kind of newsletters that I'm subscribed to, or from kind of things that I see people sharing on Slack and on Twitter and things like that. So I'm always kind of curating it. So I use Notion to kind of pin them. Okay. And then once a week I sit down, and it takes me kind of about 2 hours to go through, curate the ones that I want for the list, and then kind of write up the little intro copy, and then I send it to my friend Ruth and built it for me in Mailchimp.
You have got little helpers. I did wonder, it's like, there's so much rich content in here, it's amazing, but it's like, yeah, I just don't know how people have time to go and read all these amazing, I always pin them. I always think, oh, that's a great article, I'll come back to that. And I normally end up reading 2 or 3 of them and then trying to sort of find time to get back to the others. But I know there's so much out there to read. It's like too much to read and not enough time.
Yeah, loads, definitely. So there are a few places that I kind of reliably find really good things, so I kind of tend to pay attention to those, and then just try and kind of read little bits of stuff throughout the week. But I did it all on my own for probably the first 4 or 5 months that I ran it, and it just felt like a massive chore, and I didn't look forward to doing it because it took so long. But to get all marketing here, but it felt like a kind of a really important thing to do, to kind of stay in touch with people and hopefully provide something useful as well. So I decided that I would invest in it.
And positive. It's nice to have some positive messages, isn't it? All the stuff going on in the world.
Definitely, yeah. Although it's been really hard not to kind of make it completely coronavirus focused. Possibly what you end up reading about.
Yeah. Whether we like it or not, we just get sucked in, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of ignored it for the first 2 editions, but then after a while it started to feel like I was like losing touch with reality. So corona content is now allowed.
So the other thing I'm really interested in is you ran your tone of voice workshops recently. You did them remotely. How did that go?
Yeah, it was that was quite a process. So they were, when were they due to? They were due to happen at kind of the end of March, beginning of April. So right as all of this was kind of kicking off, and I think I knew in my heart quite early on that I was going to have to kind of change it to online, but I really didn't want to because I was so excited about running them face to face. I had a lovely venue and I had really nice catering organised, but I just had to kind of move them online. One of the hardest things was actually going through and kind of rethinking all the exercises and changing those so that they would work online, because some of the things that I wanted to do, it just wasn't practical. So that was kind of a lot of time spent doing that and kind of running through things, and then also just endless like testing of technology as well. So I had like I used Whereby, but then I also had Zoom as a backup and Google Hangouts as a backup for that. And actually for one of the workshops, we went through all 3 before we'd find something that worked. It was just, technology was a nightmare. I had to find like the best spot for Wi-Fi in the house as well, which was quite challenging. I had to
balancing on a stool somewhere.
Banish my husband to the bedroom and make him promise to turn all his devices off and not steal my bandwidth for the whole session. I think they went really well, and I had really nice feedback from the people that came. Particularly, I found that smaller groups work really well for this. So I think I had one session where there was 6 of us and one where there was 9, and the one with 6 was definitely easier to facilitate, just because I could kind of keep my attention on everybody a little bit easier. We used Mural for all of the exercises, which I mentioned earlier, and that was great. That worked so well. It was just really nice to have somewhere where we could kind of collaborate and share ideas, and then it gave us like a really nice asset at the end of the day as well that everybody could kind of take away and use as kind of a bit of a recap of some of the stuff that we've been through.
I took your tip actually of having a backup. I ran a workshop, and after I spoke to you, I took your tip of having a backup collaboration space and a backup platform. And I did need it actually. I can't remember which way round it was, but I think it was Mural that just as my workshop started, it said, we're down for the afternoon. Sorry about that. But I'm so glad I set up a backup so I could just quickly like move everybody over to the other board. But with technology, it's just anyone's guess what's going to work on the day, isn't it?
Nice. I felt so smug about Whereby, because for the first workshop it was perfect. Like the call quality was amazing. It just worked beautifully all day. It didn't drop out once, and I just felt so smug. I was like, I'm using this amazing thing, nobody else is using it. And then the second call, like it didn't work for not even for the first 5 minutes. Just it was terrible.
But you got there in the end.
Yes, but it did take probably like 45 minutes of swearing.
Your microphone off and everyone going, what's happening? And what's happening with Curio Conference? Do you have another one in the pipeline?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, Lou and I were kind of talking about it before all of this happened. And I guess, yeah, the kind of conversations changed quite a lot now from the one we were having before. So for anybody who doesn't know about Curio, it's a conference that I run here in Brighton about kind of content and curiosity and the intersection.
It's so good. You should definitely come along to it.
Thank you. And we also try and keep it really affordable, because personally I kind of priced out of most conferences now that I'm freelance and I don't have a lovely training and development budget to dip into. But being affordable means that we're always kind of operating on a really tight budget, and we're very reliant on sponsors and sponsorship and things like that. So yeah, we've got some kind of conversations to have around that to kind of see what we can do this year. The kind of plan is to run it later in the year, so hopefully the kind of situation around coronavirus will be quite different then, and perhaps a kind of real life face-to-face conference might be viable by then. But yeah, it's really so hard to know what to do because I can't see into the future far enough.
Yeah, it would be so good if it does run, because it was it's such an inspiring conference. It's a really eclectic range of speakers. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the last two, actually. So.
Well, it was so good to have you as a facilitator first year and speaker second year. You've done an amazing job.
Yeah, and you're also speaking at Content by Design next year.
I am.
So yeah, very excited about that.
Yeah.
It's a shame that everything's this year's been moved back, but yeah, these things are a bit out of our control, aren't they? Yes. Who knows what's around the corner? So anyway, it's been absolutely lovely speaking to you today, Lauren.
It's been a pleasure.
Loving the sunset on your side and the starlings. Is that one of your photos?
It is, yes.
See, she's so talented and creative. You need to follow Lauren on Twitter if you don't already. Yes, a very talented lady.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Lauren. And yeah, I'm sure we will catch up with each other again soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.